Good morning. All alive? Okay, so there was no after party, right? And what happens at next stays at next, so no worries. So. Okay, so great panel, actually the opening panel. We can call it maybe the Pharma Valley panel, right? Because we have three extraordinary panelists from Denmark, from three great companies. So actually the title, as you can see, is Past, Present, Future, What Trajectory for Digital Engagement in Pharma. To be honest, this was proposed by our colleague Kasper. I like actually the title from the very, very beginning because I think it's certainly relevant. But maybe for the very beginning we can introduce ourselves and we can start maybe with you, Helene, so a couple of words.
Yes, can you hear me? I
Yes.
think you can. Great. So my name is Helene. I'm working for Pharma. Has been working there for almost 5 years. Prior to that, I worked with GSK. Has had a prior bunch of different commercial roles, and happy to be here today.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Vanitha?
Hi everyone, Vanitha, working with Novo Nordisk, leading the digital health and customer engagement for other serious chronic diseases like Alzheimer's, NASH, CVD, and CKD.
And Kasper?
Kasper Jerlang from Ferring Pharma, heading up a relatively new function on customer engagement. I also worked with Helene in Pharma for many years, but recently joined Ferring.
Thanks a
Happy
lot.
to be here.
Good, so let's deep dive into the conversation. Maybe we can start with the confusion part, which is multi-channel, omnichannel. Is it still relevant? Should we speak maybe in a different way? So what does it mean, or actually what is or should be the difference between omnichannel and multi-channel in this digital trajectory? Maybe we can start with you, Kasper.
I think for me, omnichannel is the vision, the thing we are striving to up there on the mountain peak. And it's actually really difficult to do for real. Even if I think about my, consumer companies that I work with or airlines, doing omnichannel in a really good, seamless way is super difficult. There are a few companies that do it well, but I think that's why it's so difficult for us in pharma to actually do it, because it's not so easy. But the difference between them, I guess, multi-channel, you're doing multiple things in multiple channels. In omnichannel, you have a seamless experience where the right hand knows what the left hand is doing, and the customer really doesn't notice the difference between the channels.
Thanks a lot. Vanitha?
So I fully echo with what Kasper says. First of all, it's really tough, and the confusion is bound to happen because we're all on a digital transformational journey here. So, and like we were joking about it, it is, I think Kasper saying it, we were actually, when we started 5 years back, it was mono-channel, right? And like we just had, e-details, or as we call it, interactive visual aids, and that's it. And like, of course, we had prints as well, a lot of print assets, like, flyers and brochures and everything. But now it's taken almost 4.5 years to go into the whole multi-channel journey. So what is multi-channel? It's more of making sure that you are expanding the breadth and depth of your customer engagement by adding on new platform strategy and channel strategy, and like also just expanding the breadth and depth, like I mentioned. But omni-channel, for me, it's all about, like Kasper mentioned, it's seamless, it's connected. These are the buzzwords or the keywords, and taking your customer, like, one size fits one, and creating those moments that matter. So all these are like, we can write it like theory, but it's so hard to put it into practice. And I think we all companies are probably in that journey. If you have a solid foundation for multi-channel, then probably you can start thinking about having something called as omni-channel, and giving your customers and keeping your customers at the center of the experience, and actually following them through and building that trust and relevance with them. So, so labeling doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you call it, but as long as you know what your purpose is and create that moments that matter, I think we are in a good place to start.
Thank you, Vanitha. Helene?
Yeah, for me, multi-channel is the interactions you do have with the customers. You have the different channels, you have the face-to-face, remote, you have websites, whatever, right? But it doesn't necessarily are integrated. And I think that's the key word here, is the integration that is needed. For instance, a rep needs to know if the HCP went to the website. We need to have this as a storyline. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have the same key messages for each platform, But it's more about creating this user experience that we are taking this integration really seriously. And that is really omni-channel for me. Because if you don't have the omni-channel, you will never able to have this personalized approach also to the HCP. And that in the end is not going to serve our patients.
That's a good point. But I mean, if I think that's the technology side, right? So we spoke currently about the technology side, but if I may, in my opinion, and I know something about pharma, I mean, Danish companies in overall, Novo, Leo, Lundbeck, and some others, we see that they are really doing the journey in a proper way. So what's the secret, maybe, to ask? How you actually execute that digital journey? Because we see that, I mean, you are far behind in some things. I mean, progressed in some things.
Yeah, I think this is also, should I say, it's difficult, right?
Okay.
It's a journey for us ourselves, but it is to find these cross-functional teams working together, right? We talked about it yesterday about having these people on the table. So it is about getting the salespeople there, getting the marketing there, getting the digital people there, and actually looking at the whole story, looking at the whole, should I say, user journey and pinch point each of those touch points. I think this is the key thing for us.
What about culture and change management? I mean,
Of course. This is very, very important, right? Because, you know, culture and people is the ones who's going to, you know, carry this through. So very important.
Thanks a lot. Kasper?
Yeah, I wouldn't say technology is the easy part, but it almost compared to the culture and getting the organization to actually go in that direction you want them to. The technology can be done. I think I wouldn't say it's trivial. There's of course complexities in getting the data flowing, but I think getting people to go there. I think there's been a lot of conversations, for example, about how do we get the reps motivated to really, you know, use the CRM system 100%, use the features that Helene is talking about, and vice versa, and we can use their notes to give better customer experiences. I think that's the big one for us to crack.
Vanitha?
So I think I partially agree that we are probably doing good in some cases, but if I have to truly be true to this statement, I think we still have a long way to go. But I fully agree to the point that we are no longer sitting in a global lighthouse and just like, you know, okay, we're going to give strategy and playbooks. Yes, that exists still, but then I think we have begun to co-create a lot, where we are bringing teams together. We are integrating the medical affairs team, like, you know, we are in regular touch with the legal teams and like the commercial teams, also access for that matter. And bringing all of them together and keeping customers, our patients, at the center of creating these customer journeys. So it's not about just asking an opinion, but just making sure that we are not missing out something when we are planning and designing this. So, of course, there is one coach, catalyst, or an architect who needs to drive and steer this forward. There should be leadership. It's not like, I'm not saying that, oh, we have to take everybody's opinion. And of course, we need to bring people in our journey, but I think there should also be a strong leadership, somebody who actually steers this forward and says that, you know, this is the way to do it. But I still miss the sales or the field force into designing these journeys. Of course, there are some affiliates, not in the strategic 10 affiliates like our Australian affiliate. I think they have begun to include the field force as well in this journey, and they've got some fabulous results, because then they're bringing the field force along with us on the journey, right? So that's something which I would really like to see in the future. Also, that global, when they are designing these customer journeys, we have some representation from the field force also to design this. So we are all we are moving towards this omni-channel orchestration of customer engagement.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Next question, what needs actually to be done in developing a future-proof customer, patient-centric, omni-channel engagement strategy? That's a tough one, I would say. Helene, maybe we can start.
Yeah, but I think, again, back to what you were also saying here, you need, of course, a strategy, right? So you need a really clear strategy, what you want to do with these channels, what you want to do with the key points that you're already taking, and then you need to align this to the, you know, the broader strategy you have for the business, right? So they need to see themselves in where we are going, basically. So this is the first thing you need to do. Then, of course, you need to have the resources, you need to have the change management behind it, because this is not just should I say, a transformation by itself. It's an evolution where we need to go in small steps, right? Again, I'm Danish, so I can say Lego, right? So we need to take the Lego pieces by pieces, and then we're building on there. And by doing this, I think that also this is the key thing for this transformation.
And management support, obviously, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think future-proofing in this area is super difficult. I actually think just these last 6 months with the AI that's happened, really amazed me, the progress. So the best way for me to future-proof is, of course, to set it up agile and be ready for change, blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you focus on how you create value to your customers, I mean, how do you actually help them and have that as your main purpose, then I think we can be agile and move around and future-proof our strategy much more than just doing 10-year roadmaps and whatever, because they will change. I mean, for sure, my plan will change within the next 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Vanitha?
I think there are two aspects here. One is managing your internal stakeholders and managing your customers who are external, right? I think with internal stakeholders, capability building is super key, because I've noticed, like, we've been in this digital transformation for almost 6 years now. I see people coming and leaving. The average time a person stays in a role is 18 to 24 months, and like, I remember giving the same presentation at least 200 times to different people and new people. It keeps happening, right? It's a constant process. So it's not like, oh, yeah, I've set this all up and like I'm done. And like now I expect everybody to just follow through. People just don't read just playbooks and just like they get to know what to do. You need to, just like how you want to connect and be connected with your external customers, you also need to be connected with your internal stakeholders and like, bring them, constantly inspire them, instill this mindset. Nobody really knows what we have been through, right? I remember having these onboarding sessions with brand teams where they have no clue about, they probably know what has happened in their company, but we need to tell them your specific organization's narrative, right? And that's so key to bring them along. That happens constantly. And then the external customers, right? One thing I see, I hear people talking about it, but at least Novo doesn't have this yet, about a focus on customer experience and capturing the voice of customers. Now, I really am an ambassador for this, and I really would like Novo to head in that direction where, of course, you have all these multiple channels, which is great. You are executing customer journeys, great. But are you capturing feedback from your customers? Are you really getting to build a deeper understanding of your customers? Market research is good. You're having a lot of data, analytics, great, but are you really looking at them? Are you getting the feedback that you need in order to make things better and delivering a superior customer experience? I think if we are going to head in that direction, I think we will do better than what we are doing today.
That's a good point, yeah. So in the past, we had mono multi-channel, right? In the present, we have omnichannel, but what will be the future? Let's speak about the future. Who would like to go first?
I guess for me, the future is
It's
omnichannel.
omnichannel, exactly.
I wish it was here.
Because, I mean, I hear it many times, frankly speaking, that somehow maybe we'll go back to mono-channel because delivering
You're
customer
always a
experience.
step ahead of us. So,
At least Denmark agrees.
So the future is still omnichannel.
I think the concept, if you really think about it, I guess we all get a little bit tired of these terms because we talk about omnichannel for so long, but if you really think about the term itself, what does it mean? I guess it is still the future. However, what could that mean in terms of AI being introduced? I think that it will be super exciting the next couple of years.
So you think that AI will play an essential role in omnichannel?
Had you asked me a year ago, I'd probably much more skeptical and said there's more A than I in that term. But now I'm really
This is just
I'm really turned
accelerating,
around. I must say, I'm very impressed. I'm very optimistic about how we can use it.
Helene?
Yeah, as you were saying, we are much more value-driven right now, right? And to do this, this is more about behavioral from the HCP. What is actually in his mind? Why is he changing? Why is he actually prescribing our product and so forth? And to do this, we do need to look at other, data that we do maybe today, right? So there, we're looking into having personas, profiles, market research, digital footprints and whatever, right? And there I see that AI can come in, predict and actually see a pattern in all these data, right? Because data is for sure the king right now, and we need to ensure that we have this right information. So it's not just, again, about the sales pitch. It's about asking the right, question to the HCP so he understands actually and answer you back, why is this so important for the patient in the end? And the same thing also when you're talking about you're going to Harry Potter in London, right? Because in the start, you were hesitant to say, yeah, this has cost a lot of money, but then you're seeing the kids, how happy they are, right? So this is the same kind of feeling we need to do with the HCPs, right? And the only thing we can do that is actually to take in their behavioral and actually getting, should I say, the whole thing about why are they actually changing their behavior.
Vanitha?
I think the future is, I can speak from the fact that I am in a franchise now which is going to serve the future generations. So of course Novo has 100 years of legacy in diabetes. We know all our customer groups, great. We have taken 100 years to build that legacy and trust with our endos and other stakeholders whom we connect for diabetes, right? Now we are entering new therapy areas. We do not have the luxury of building that legacy, so we really need to think. It's not just about the digital transformation, it's about the business needs and challenges and the new stakeholder groups that we need to cater to, right? It's not going to be just specialists, it's going to be also primary care physicians. It's going to be like in Alzheimer's and everything, right? We are also talking about caregivers. Like we have to cater to multiple stakeholder groups who are influencing decisions every day. So I think the future is like there definitely cannot be like, of course the technology part is one, AI definitely, we need to know more about our customers, but I think we need to really think about how do we cater to all these new and emerging customer groups if we have to win this trust and be relevant in a very short period of time. So I think the future for pharma, the way we have to think, or the way we are thinking at least, is how to crack this, right? So, and if technology is going to help us do this, yes, why not, right? So it's like, it's no longer a good to have, I think it's a must to have, and we really need to think about multiple customer groups in the future.
One point which I think still concerns many are actually insights, right? Because we generate a lot of data, and unfortunately we still don't use the insights in the proper way or how we would like to use them, right? So what would be your advice how to facilitate and leverage those insights based on the big data amount which we generate? Kasper, maybe we can start with you.
That's a tough one.
I know.
I think, well, we do collect a lot of data, and at least the companies I've previously worked in and the one I work in now, we are not very good at, using the data in a seamless way to really have that one picture of the customer, for example. So there's a lot of data silos, but there's a great opportunity there if we can make the technology work and we can start to have people tagging the information in the right way. Then I think there's potential to really use it and I don't know, become Netflix or where we personalize and do good stuff with the data.
That's a good point. And maybe that's why we need actually AI, right? To interpret that data.
Yeah.
Helene?
We're doing the same thing. We, of course, working on adoption ladders, on profiles. We are scoring, so to say, the HCPs and their digital journey and where they're at, right? Because, of course, we have so much data, and we cannot just push it out to the reps, because, yes, we have 360 view, but we cannot have everything in there. So we are looking into if they have webinars, did they raise their hand, what was the topics, what was the topics on the congresses, everything, right now we're trying to collect. But we're also doing this by categorizing the HCPs. So I think that's a key thing, right? You need to have a problem statement before you're looking at data, because otherwise it just becomes a big mess. So yes.
Well, data, right? It's interesting. In the last couple of years, we have generated a lot of data, for sure. But are people really using it? That's my question, right? Like for me, of course, the digital team sits like a little bit outside the commercial team. But when I moved into the commercial team, I realized there's a lack of awareness about all this amazing data that exists, right? So like I mentioned, managing internal stakeholders and making them aware of, first of all, that this data exists is important. And within data itself, I always remember this journey with data, right? So of course, the foundations is to collect that data, like by tagging and other things for content and campaign KPI, first of all, setting those KPIs to collect the data. So now once you collect the data, of course, you have this amazing dashboards which gives what is called as descriptive analytics. Now you need to move into the journey of diagnostic analytics where you understand, okay, why is this data looking like this? Why is it not? You need to ask those questions, and who's going to do that? Marketers, right? And who are creating that content or the campaigns, right? And the marketers need to ask that question. Then, of course, AI is going to come into the picture and move you from diagnostic to predictive analytics, where it's going to say, oh, this is the data that is historic, and this is how it might look. But then there's another level. So we are all thinking predictive analytics, the all and end all, right? But then there is something called as prescriptive analytics, which actually we are not even talking about that yet. But yeah, hopefully one day, I know there are some healthcare startups or some startup companies which do prescriptive analytics. Like there are some, I don't remember the name, but if you put in all your symptoms, like, as a patient, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, it actually says, oh, no, this is what you need to do. These are the medicines you need to take. They're online doctors, right? Those kind of stuff, it's gonna come soon. So we should all be prepared for that. But the first step is to lay the foundation and actually really look into that data. Move from descriptive to diagnostic analytics first. Then let's talk about predictive.
That's a good point, very good point.
I think I like this point about getting the brand teams with us. I remember discussing with a brand team. So we have this opportunity to collect all this data. So what's your question? I asked them, what would you like to know? And they were like, they didn't know what they wanted to know. So just getting them to understand the opportunity to get insights is quite interesting, because I mean, the old days you would just send a CD-ROM or a binder or an email with your campaign pack, but now it's actually a much more, I know it's another buzzword, closed loop. You can actually ask questions and get the technology to look at it for you and give you some feedback. And I don't think all of them are ready yet, so there's a bit of an organizational work there.
Yeah.
Especially if you ask the right questions, right?
In fact, we were just talking yesterday, I was just speaking to my mentor, and we were like, you know what, the future is like, brand marketers should just own this, right? And like all these roles, digital roles will just get redundant, and that's the future, really.
Yeah.
If you have to be truly honest and genuine about this, right? Marketers need to just pull up their sleeves and do this. That's it.
Okay, so since that has been the opening panel, we are taking questions from the audience. Any questions? I think it was a very
Don't you want to
great
know about the
conversation.
future? We have the answers up here.
Or maybe some advice, so we are also taking advices. Please?
There's one question over here.
Good morning. Nice conversation. I have a question. When I hear that there are multiple components that play a role together, what comes first? Like there's data, there's technology, there's human adoption, there's change, but what is the spark to initiate the discussion or the debate and to go in small steps further?
You want to try?
That's a nice question. I think, love it. I think it's actually a mix of all of it. So sometimes you see the technology opens up for a new opportunity that you have to work with, or you can work with, that gives new opportunities, but you don't really know what it means yet. So then a bit of organization, you test out, you see what doors are opening, and I would take it from that. But often I feel technology is, opening new doors for us, in my experience.
I think I can add, I really like the word minimum viable product, right? Because in the name of, or draft, right? Minimum viable product, let's say you're creating a car as a minimum viable product, it means it has to at least move, right? The car has to run, so it has to have the basics. So I think when you ask what comes first, I think everything needs to be there, like the people, process, and technology as a minimum viable product, and then you can keep adding to it because the journey is continuous. Gathering data, adding technology, bringing people together, adding or making your processes more advanced. It's all a journey, but I think you should have something, the minimum viable product mindset to start with, like.
Sometimes it's, the solution is looking for a problem, often. I think that's funny.
I think it's a really interesting question, right? Because I know a lot of pharma companies has done it very differently. So some companies, they have invested a lot in, different platforms, so forth. I'm in a company who do have the pleasure to have Salesforce Marketing, Viva CRM, Align, Actana, everything, basically, right? But is that the right decision? Right now, of course, we are working with our omnichannel, should I say, strategy. Should we do it opposite? Maybe we should, right? I think it's a huge connection there, and this is also what we are talking about, to getting the people together. So you do need to have the technical team there to talk about which technologies can actually create this value for the HCPs. At the same time, you do need to have the opposite. But I was saying, get the people together. I don't think that it's one of them is necessarily the best thing to have the first than the other. You need to have both of them.
Yes, we can take another question. We are left with 12 seconds.
So my question would be, Kasper, you said that sometimes marketing doesn't know which questions to ask, and one simple question is always like, is this campaign successful? What happens if the answer is no? Like, how do you drive change management in your organizations? Because sometimes you do the analytics and you realize this campaign was not successful. So how do you deal with people's fear in that regard?
Yeah, that's a pickle if it's not successful. But I guess it's rarely black and white. It's like not completely unsuccessful or completely successful. But on the other hand, I think in most companies people are interested in the closed loop thinking and improving on the next version. So I haven't experienced a big hard no in terms of knowing the results. But how to deal with people's emotions, I don't know. Ask a psychologist.
Go for therapy.
The world is tough, yeah.
Helene, Vanitha?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a partnership, right? So I don't think it's about, who's doing wrong or who's doing good. We should actually be the vitamin also for the brand teams in the end, right? We would like to be their partner in daily life. So it's not just about solving a pain thing for them, that we are painkillers or something, right? We are there to work together with them. And I think right now, with everything's going on also in the content area, with digital asset management and so forth, I see so many things that we can do right now that also excites the brand teams. So at least I don't experience that, competitiveness or coming as a teacher saying, hey, you're doing bad, right? We have so many things that we could do together.
I think we should have a fail fast, fail forward approach, right? It's okay to fail, but as long as there's a learning and then you want to move forward with that learning, I think that creating that kind of cultural mindset is good, and that's what we try in Novo, at least. We are asked to fail. It's okay, but yeah, that's how it is.
So thanks a lot, Vanitha, Helena, and Kasper. It was a great conversation. And looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, thanks.